Trustee Fenton?
Here.
Trustee Dodge?
Here.
Trustee Calandrello?
Here.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Malani?
Here.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the July 6, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of July 6, 2020.
Second. Any changes? Call roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello? Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
St. Francis of Assisi Church raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to approve issuing a raffle license to St. Francis of Assisi Church to sell raffle tickets for their grand raffle from July 24th, 2020 through November 26, 2020 at their church located at 15050 South Wolf Road, Orland Park.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Civic Center Advisory Committee appointment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to confirm the appointment of Beatty Malik Ali to the Civic Center Advisory Committee.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Technology Commission appointment.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to advise and consent the appointment of Jay Swanson to the Technology Commission.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Joint Emergency Telephone System 911 Board appointment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to advise and consent the appointment of Deputy Chief Joe Mitchell to the Joint Emergency Telephone System 911 Board.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Proclamation honoring Chief Timothy J. McCarthy.
So it's my honor tonight to honor Chief McCarthy for his great work in the Village of Orland Park over 26 plus years. And personally, I want to thank him for his service during my tenure. He's been an absolute professional since day one and provided outstanding advice, wise counsel whenever leaned upon, and that even started, my first couple of weeks on the job. So, without that advice, there were times that I really needed someone to lean on, and he was there. And all those years of service and all those years of wisdom were very, very helpful. So I want to really thank you for that. I appreciate it. Today, proclamation declaring August 2nd, 2020 as Chief Timothy J. McCarthy Day in the Village of Orland Park. Whereas Chief McCarthy was appointed to the Village of Orland Park as a Chief of Police in 1994 after having served with great distinction as a special agent in the United States Secret Service. And whereas during his 48-year career in law enforcement, Chief McCarthy has been the recipient of numerous awards and honors, including the NCAA Award of Valor, which he received in 1982 in recognition of the bravery he exhibited in saving former President Ronald Reagan in an assassination attempt on March 30th, 1981. And whereas the first annual Chief of Police of the Year Award from the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police was received by McCarthy in 2016 in recognition of his leadership and service. And whereas under the chief's leadership, the police department has engaged in a more collaborative approach to the village-wide initiatives such as addressing mental illness through the implementation of the department's nationally recognized crisis intervention team focusing on response to mental health-related incidents. And whereas Chief McCarthy supervised the construction of the first LEED Gold certified police station in the nation, working to establish and lead the South Suburban Major Crimes Task Force, and also served for a time at the Village of Orland Park as the interim village manager. And whereas Chief McCarthy's efforts also included lobbying on law enforcement issues, school safety and security, automating the Orland Park Police Department, the implementation of numerous community policing initiatives, and the use of Narcan to help save those who have overdosed from heroin. And whereas Chief McCarthy and the Orland Park Police Department are actively involved with the law enforcement torch run and fundraising for the Illinois Special Olympics. And whereas the Orland Park Police Department was the first municipal police agency to receive a certificate of authorization from the Federal Aviation Administration for the use of a drone. And whereas Chief McCarthy has faithfully and diligently served the village as its chief of police by providing steadfast and dependable leadership to the men and women of the Orland Park Police Department throughout his entire tenure. And now, therefore, I, Keith Pecaw, Mayor of the Village of Orland Park, Illinois, in recognition of Chief Timothy J. McCarthy's retirement from the Orland Park Police Department, recognize him for his 26 years of service and do hereby proclaim Sunday, August 2nd, 2020, as Chief Timothy J. McCarthy Day. And I know, Chief, now you'd like to say a few words.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mayor Pecaw, for that wonderful proclamation from you and the board. I'd like to take the opportunity to first introduce my family that's here. My wife, Carol, of 47 years out of 48 in law enforcement. My daughter, Jeannie, and her 4 children. They're over there, Caitlin, Ashland, Emmy, and Jack. My daughter, Maura, her husband, Sean, and Jeannie's husband, Jason, over there, and their 3 children, Timmy, Reagan, and Maggie, and my son, Jeff, who is here. His wife is up in Wisconsin at the moment. So I'm very proud to have them with me. They've gone through a journey for a lot of years, and now it's time that we'll be spending a little more time together. I hope you think it's a good idea. Let me thank Mayor Pecaw and the board for a police department is only as good as the support it gets politically, and both politically and through the budget process, and their appreciation for public safety. Mayor Pecaw and the board, you've been outstanding, and all of the accomplishments of this department are due to your support, the support of our past boards. It's no surprise that this department is one of the best in the state of Illinois because we've been given the resources to do it. You found that it was important to do things such as CIT, drone, Narcan, numerous other programs that we put into place that makes Orland Park so good. But I close out 48 years feeling very good about my career in law enforcement, and in particular where I found the Orland Park Police Department and where it is now. And I want to recognize Joe Mitchell, Joe Riette, our interim. Joe is the interim chief, and I hope he becomes the chief, and you'll find you couldn't find a better person to take over the reins. A chief from Chicago, Chief Riccio, Chicago Police. He's a friend of mine. He just retired. And he said, policing, this is a job of a lifetime, but it's not a job for life. And that's very true. As a chief of police and all of our officers here, every crime in Orland Park you take personally. You sleep with one eye open. You give me my napkin there, Carol. Thank you. You sleep with one eye open through your entire career, waiting for get that call or 2 or 3 in the morning for the tragic events that often take place. But it's been the policy of the Village of Orland Park Board to recognize that it's a professional department and allow them to do their job. It's a rare day when I get a call from a village trustee or even the mayor requesting anything from the police department. It is absolutely outstanding, and I think the results prove that that's the proper way to govern. And I want to thank you for it, Mayor, members of the board. But it's also the success of the police department and our public safety is due to the patrol officers and investigators who man the beats 24/7 and investigate the crimes and serve our residents and visitors with courtesy, integrity, and professionalism. And to my command staff that's here and the supervisors that are also here, they are largely responsible for the many good things that this department has done. The chief of police is a small cog in a big wheel. Give a lot of direction, but without the outstanding professionals that we have in our department of deputy chief, commanders, lieutenants, sergeants, and those patrol officers, it would not be the department that it is. And the experience that this department brings to the table with Deputy Chief Mitchell with 25 years, Commander West with 26, Commander Rossi with 20, Commander Sutherland with 26. It's hard not to do well with people with that type of experience. And I also have to thank many of those who have gone before us that have also contributed greatly to the success of the police department. But I've had a couple of secret weapons, which I haven't talked about much, but we have some secret weapons in the police department too. It's not just all patrol officers and investigators doing a great job out there. I've got some civilians who do a wonderful job. One of my secret weapons is Rick Dalzell. Where's Rick? Is Rick up here? Rick is a man of many talents, former chief of police in Alsip, a trustee in Alsip, and simply brilliant when it comes to electronics of any type. Thank you, Rick. Aaron Hackett, is Aaron there? Head of our CSOs, especially during the weeks when we had some disturbances, she stepped up with all of her CSOs. Mike DeLaley, our detention aid supervisor. Where are you at, Mike? Great job. Mike takes care of our detention center, one of the most sensitive areas in the police department. It does it with professionalism, making sure that every prisoner comes in safely and leaves safely. Rich Miller. Where's Rich? Rich is head of our ESDA, along with other duties. He runs the evidence and recovered property, where he manages 80,000 pieces of evidence, and about 20 people in our emergency services division who stepped up back in the first 2 weeks of June when it was all hands on deck. And we put them in a lot of positions that they probably hadn't been in before, but they accomplished everything for us and made us a lot better. And even Trustee Milani was out there. He was a pretty good soldier as member of ESTA, and we put him at a couple of posts, and he performed pretty well for a trustee. He performed very well. Ken Kuba. Where's Ken? He's probably not here. Ken is our IT manager. You know how popular they are, but he is so brilliant that he keeps things running 24/7. Now, there's another person in the room that I have to recognize. Our new village manager, George Kazwara. He's a good haggler. And I've enjoyed haggling with you, George, over these number of months you've been here, and we had to decide on positions and how to fill things. Pleasure working with you, George. Good luck in the future. And all of our department directors who are here, they're all relatively new in Orland Park, but they bring a ton of experience with them. So I know they're going to be outstanding in their new positions. But I have to give a huge shout out to the wonderful residents of Orland Park. the business people of Orland Park, who supported us those first 2 weeks in June and all the time, supported us all the time. During the first 2 weeks of June, we had more food, more gift cards, more water. We could have started our own Costco by that time. But it was absolutely wonderful. The cards and letters that we got were just unbelievable. So this department stepped up when the pandemic hit. I deemed them all essential. Not a person didn't show up for about 3 weeks. And now we had two officers that were infected. We got through it. And without any interruption in our operations. So, as I kind of fade into the sunset of retirement, I do so knowing that mission accomplished, that the department is in good hands, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Can we do comments?
Yeah, we can. Some of the trustees would like to make comments.
Before you bolt.
I'll just go down the line. Trustee Fenton?
I've been on the board for 27 years, and I was one of the very fortunate trustees to hire Tim, which has proven to be an outstanding decision on my part and the board at the time. I'd like to personally thank you for the hard work that you've done and for the leadership that you gave to this fantastic police department that we have in the village of Orland Park, from the TSOs all the way through everyone else that works in that department. Without your leadership, we wouldn't have, as I've always stated, the best police department in the state of Illinois, or in the nation. Let's just skip the state. We're going nation, because it is. And, you know, as you said, you were just a cog in the wheel. The leadership is what makes a difference, too. So I know your family, especially Carol, is very excited about your retirement. Obviously, she must have a lot of honey-do lists for you to accomplish. But there again, like I said, it was a decision that we made. We made the right decision, and everything that you've accomplished in the village has proven that that decision was the best. And I can only wish you the best of luck the rest of your career and your retirement. And retirement is pretty cool. You can sleep as late as you want.
Trustee Dodge?
Thanks, Mayor Peacock. Tim, it's going to be pretty difficult to summarize nearly 3 decades into a couple of comments, but this point number one, you know, as a resident and then an elected board member and as a parent, I can't begin to thank you enough for all the things that you and the department have accomplished over the years with our community. So heartfelt thank you for that. And it was always interesting, Tim, to kind of watch how you did things. I think that you know, easy smile. I think you're demanding because you expected excellence both in yourself and the department. I think you've cultivated a great department as we go forward, and it's a testament to your leadership, and it's a testament to both the style and the substance of you as a person and what you've brought into this position. So again, as a father of a kid in the schools, as a board member who's always wanted to support a police department because I believe in the mission, I believe in what we have here in Orland Park, and as a resident, thank you again, and all the best in retirement.
Trustee Calangelo?
I'll just be brief. I just want to, Tim, thank you for your service. When I got on the board, I was a 26-year-old, and I was technically a chairman of the police, which means nothing when you have Tim McCarthy as the police chief. but I just want to thank you for your professionalism as a former state's attorney. I know your leadership and all the men and women upstairs, and that's based on you and your positive leadership and your professional leadership and your whole team. So we don't have to talk about everything you've done. We've talked, and I just want to. We do have the best police force in the nation, as Kathy said. I just want to thank you for your leadership, and I learned from you, and I do appreciate that. And the lessons I learned from you, I hope will continue. And I wish you good luck with your family, and hopefully you don't have to change diapers when you babysit the kids. So, but congratulations to the whole family.
Trustee Healy.
Tim, you're an amazing graduate of St. Leo High School. Their nickname is the Lion, and you are a lion when it comes to taking on a police chief job. You've made this one of the safest places in Illinois, and we all thank you for that.
Trustee Katsinas.
Chief, I want to thank you for your years of service. When I was younger, in 2001, I was on the fire board, and you were one intimidating character. You really were. I mean, not that we love our firemen. And you said to me when I got on this board that we're going to take out that fire chip and put in a police chip. And you were successful. So I thank you for that. Thank you for your service, and enjoy your retirement. Happiness and health to you and your family.
Trustee Malani.
Not only have you done a lot for Orland Park, we, understand that you've also done a tremendous amount for our country as well. And, we look back and I really appreciate everything you've done for Orland Park here. I think there's two things. You demand excellence, you strive for excellence, and most importantly, you have a huge heart. I know you don't like to show it, but you do. And I've learned a lot in such a short period of time working for you, and we wouldn't be where we are today, and we wouldn't be as successful as we are today without you leading. So thank you very much.
Carol, be careful what you wish for. You got them now all day. And I want to thank you for your service, because I know, my wife has been there in support of me when I was in harm's way. I know you've done it for a long time, and about 5 times longer than my wife did, and I know what that takes. And to your family too, thank you, because I know what that takes. And without a family, without a wife supporting you, it's very hard to do what Chief McCarthy's done. So thank you. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Leadership is what makes policing, is what makes a department. I was in the military, there are great systems. And some of the squadrons were very poor because the leadership was poor. It's about leadership. And the chief has hired great leaders, he's developed great leaders, and that's a reflection on you. And currently as mayor and other things I do, when you run into a leadership challenge, you reach out to people that may have seen it, people who you respect their leadership capabilities. I can tell you, Chief, you're one of maybe 4 people that I reach out to ask for their advice and for their thoughts on the challenge that I face, because you're one of the best leaders I've ever been around and ever had the pleasure of working with. So again, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for the service to Orland Park. I appreciate it. Don't screw up. Make sure you get that locked. Okay.
All right, let's see you too. Accounts payable from July 7th, 2020 to July 20th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from July 7th, 2020 to July 20th, 2020, in the amount of $3,381,124.72.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calendro? Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda, item A, payroll for July 10th, 2020 approval. Item B, Saratoma Center authorizing development agreement ordinance. Item C, Saratoma right-of-way vacation for 142nd Street and Oak Place ordinance. Item D, Saratoma Center plat of subdivision and plat of consolidation. Item E, Gibson Electric request for contract extension. Item F, disposal of village equipment, online auction, Public Works Department ordinance. Item G, Morton Arboretum Community Forest grant resolution. Item H, water supply and wastewater collection service agreement with Illinois American Water Company for Orland Ridge Development. Item I, 143rd Street from Wolf Road to Southwest Highway Phase 2 engineering for traffic signal interconnect. Item J, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago watershed management ordinance amendment. Item K, 147th Street and Ravinia Avenue resolution amendment number 1 resolution. I'll entertain a motion to approve items A through K of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calendro?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Donation of police vehicle to Orland Fire Protection District.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
ordinance number, please.
5531.
I move to pass ordinance number 5531 entitled an ordinance authorizing donation of personal property police vehicle owned by the Village of Orland Park, Illinois to the Orland Fire Protection District.
Second?
Any comments or questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calendro? Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Authorize the sale of 2 police vehicles to the Village of Phoenix, Illinois.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to pass ordinance number 5532 entitled an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property police vehicles owned by the Village of Orland Park, Illinois to the Village of Phoenix, Illinois.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
You know, it's if I had my druthers, we would reduce this price even farther or donate them, given the need. I want to bring that up as a potential amendment.
Do you want to make an amendment, a motion for an amendment?
I do, Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
Move to that this is a donation to the Village of Phoenix, Illinois.
Second.
Anyone want to discuss the amendment?
Mayor Pico,
Trustee Healy.
I don't think, where would it end? We have 6, 7 more vehicles coming up in the near future as we rotate our vehicles. Are we going to give every one away? There's plenty of needy people out there. I mean, there's plenty of needy citizens of Orland. I think that we should be very, very measured in what we give away for free. It's not my role to give away property of the Village of Orland. I think it's a constitutional thing that, it's just my interpretation. I don't care if anybody else agrees with it, but I think that we weren't put here to give property away. And there's plenty of needy causes in the world. We all have our favorites. I'm good with making a sale of the property for as close to the fair market value as we can get.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
I would like to entertain well, I don't know if we can, but what the legal aspect would be, but I think maybe reducing the price to half.
Well, right now, we're discussing the amendment
Right.
to donate.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
If I recall correctly, these were valued at about $5,000 apiece, and the Village of Phoenix approached us with a $4,000 offer for these, correct? Okay.
Any other comments?
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge?
They approached us with an offer, if my understanding, and staff could correct it, because they thought we were going to make sure we were going to sell them. So it's a simple question. You have a community that could use the help. There are issues, as Trustee Healy pointed out, but I'm sure we can figure out how to manage that in the future. And if I'm not mistaken, we just gave something that had minimal value to the fire district, who could certainly have afforded to pay us. So there's a fine line here, and it's a simple question. I'd like to see a reduction in the price. My formal motion is to basically just make it an outright donation, and in extraordinary times, do something extraordinary to help a community who could use it.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas?
if I'm not mistaken, the vehicle given to the fire district was one that they're going to demolish, pretty much, take apart for training exercise. So the value placed on that is probably slim to none. Is that correct?
It's a 20-year-old vehicle, so it was scrap value.
Okay. I do believe in helping others that are in need. However, with a value of $8,000 for the two vehicles, in light of a lot of budget constraints we've made, I know it's pennies in comparison, but I think it's our taxpayer money that if, we were able, we'd give it to every needy community. I think our budget next year is going to be even tougher. And as much as I'd like to be a good steward and give the property to a needy community, I think the taxpayers of Orland Park should come first. We offer them at a discount, $4,000 apiece, and I think that would help that community a great deal and yet allow us to be a good steward of our taxpayer dollar.
Any other questions or comments on this?
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Calandrello?
I agree with Trustee Dodge and Trustee Fenton. I think that we should either donate them. We've done that before. We're donating tickets. We're doing other things, giving things away for non-residents. So I'm okay with this. It's a very small amount based on some other things we've been giving away. So I think just being a good neighbor in these hard times. So I welcome this, or even an amendment of a reduction price.
So this is a challenging one in that I agree that it's taxpayer money and they're free to donate to where they want to donate. At the same time, probably more than anyone else in this room, I'm familiar with the city of Phoenix and the village of Phoenix and what they deal with, because I deal with the mayor over there, and you have, it's one of the poorest communities in the Chicagoland area. So I think it's I see the dilemma on both sides. It's also, as the mayor of Orland Park, it's frustrating that some of the communities around us, well, we do a lot to help those communities. When it comes to COVID and other things, their thoughts are about themselves, and they completely are more than willing to see, Orland, Tinley, and the area be shorted some of the funding that we should probably be getting as well. So, and I'm not saying that Phoenix is involved in that, but I'm just saying that I see all sides of this, and so it's a challenging dilemma. But it is a small amount, and it's really hard times for those areas. So I'm inclined to go ahead and reduce the price from what, not a complete donation. I feel like they came to us looking to purchase it. I think a goodwill gesture of lowering the price would be a better option. We could also, well, first we have to vote on this amendment. So first, place a vote on the amendment to donate the vehicles. Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
No.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Trustee Malani?
No.
Mayor Pico?
No, the motion fails 5-2. I will entertain a motion to sell both vehicles for a total of $4,000, so half the price.
So moved.
Second.
And does anybody have any more comments to make on that, or do we just want to I'll call the roll? Call the roll.
Who seconded that?
Dodge.
Actually, I think it was Malani, but.
Oh,
doesn't
sorry.
matter. Doesn't matter. It was moved and seconded.
All right. Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Motion carries 5-2. So now we will, so the amended motion, I move to pass ordinance number, the question that is put is to move to pass ordinance number 5532, entitled an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property, police vehicles owned by the Village of Orland Park, Illinois, to the Village of Phoenix, Illinois, for the price of $4,000 for 2 vehicles.
So moved.
Oh, no, that's the question
already
that's
done.
put. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Motion carries 5-2.
Summer special events update?
Can you put up the slides? So I'm going to give, before we go into the summer special events that you asked for COVID updates. I'm pretty much the guy that gets all the data and puts it all together, so Ahmad collects it all on a daily basis. Give you some idea of how challenging that is. The reporting of it changes, every couple of weeks, what they report, how they report it. So some things that we were tracking and really getting good information from suddenly disappear. Then something else pops up and you have no history on it. And a lot of the stuff that they report, they'll report on a daily basis for a period of time, and then they change all the numbers for the history, and so Ahmad has to check all those numbers every day and make sure that, and then change them again if they recast the numbers that they've had. And then a lot of stuff is reported only daily in total, so the only way to get the daily numbers is to capture it every day and then figure out how much the increase was each day. So it's a bit challenging, but taking all that information together, Ahmad puts it all together, and essentially that's where these slides come from. So I just want to remind everyone, I know we've talked about this a lot, but you go back to my first meeting with, which was put together by the city of Chicago and Dr. Arwadi from Chicago and CDC, and they talked about 4 things that they look at whenever there's a pandemic: morbidity, which they said there really is nothing they could do because there are no cures. They said if we happen to find a cure, it'll change it, but there's really nothing they could do for that. Spread, they also said at that point in time that there's not much they can do to stop it. It was going to be a pandemic. This was well before it was called a pandemic. They said the cat's out of the bag. So they said what they're really concerned about is slowing the spread and smoothing it out so that it protected the healthcare system. Because if the healthcare system gets overrun, then you could see death numbers increase because some of the other conditions wouldn't be able to be cared for because the healthcare system, they couldn't get seen. So they were really worried about number 3, and then they were also worried about the economic damage. And so, as they pointed out, they're really trying to balance at that point. This was back around March 15th. They were looking to balance the healthcare system versus the economy. Because obviously, we've talked about this before, a poorly functioning economy, you can't really provide very good health care. So, and a lot of things, as we know, have gone up: suicides, depression, mental health issues that we've had to have calls for, domestic batteries up, all those things that happen when the economy is doing poorly. And obviously, it's as poor as it's been since the Great Depression with everything. So they're trying to balance those things. So, what are we in? We're in the position where we're trying to reopen the economy safely. We didn't overrun the healthcare system. The healthcare system is now in fine shape, and we need to just make sure as we open that we don't cause the healthcare system to not be in that position. So that's what this is about. So flip to the next slide. This, although it only goes to July 2nd, because that's the latest data they have, the University of Washington looks at, they have a lot of models, but one of the things they started looking at was the mobility of different areas, how people are moving around. And they track that generically through cell phone movements. And as you can see, near the end of March was the low point, or is it minus 55%? That was after the initial lockdown. People were pretty much locked down, closed, and then you can see it gradually started to trend upwards as things were open. Then it trended upwards some more. Currently, for the entire state of Illinois, it's about minus 20%. I would contend it's probably much higher than that in Orland Park, because Illinois includes Chicago. There's a lot of people still not going into Chicago, and Chicago's still a little bit more locked down than other communities. So at least from what I've observed on LaGrange Road and everything, I think it's probably higher than this. But keep that in mind. There's a lot more movement, a lot more activity. I don't think that's anything surprising to anyone in here. Even with essential businesses, we may have had 20,000 people, but the LaGrange Road was fairly empty. Now it looks like it normally does, and it's packed. So here's the numbers that we've seen. So cases in suburban Cook County have trended down. That trend line's from PowerPoint, so it just fits it in there. Trend line's down. You see there's 2 days here where cases went up in the last couple of weeks. One of the problems is that their testing has gone through the roof. Back in the early days, like the 5th of April, we're testing maybe 8,000 people a day. Now they're testing 40-some thousand plus. So as I've always said, cases are a difficult number to really judge because it can kind of be manipulated. They don't report. In some of the cases, you see that they didn't report for 2 days, and then all of a sudden there's a huge spike after they didn't report for 2 days. Well, that's because they didn't report anything, and they reported 3 days worth of stuff in 1 day. So we see some of that, which gives you some anomalies. But nonetheless, it's still trended downward. It's kind of flattened out here more recently, which is not surprising because we've opened up more. The one that I really look at is hospital admissions, because at the end of the day, we're worried about protecting the hospital system. And the hospital admissions in suburban Cook County have trended down since the end of April. And as Ahmad could tell you, that these numbers do change. And so these reflect the latest ones from today. They constantly go in and update these things because they do it based on report date. Sometimes they get reported later. But as you can see, there's been a steady downward trend for a long time, and now we're down into the low single digits as far as daily hospitalizations across all of suburban Cook. Because even if we tomorrow had 500 cases, if only 3 people are ending up in the hospital from those 500 cases, you're finding the asymptomatic cases that were never tested before. In fact, we know back in early April and May, and certainly April, that people that were sick, that had all the symptoms, they said, do you run in a high fever? No, not really. Well, just monitor it and stay there. You probably have it, but they didn't even send them for tests. They just assumed they had it, and that was it. So now they're testing, as you know, anyone can walk up and get a test. So you're seeing it way more testing. And still you're seeing hospitalizations, and that's really what we're worried about. We're worried about making sure the hospital system's not overrun. So that's continued to trend downward. COVID-related deaths in suburban Cook County, now as I've talked about before, this is a lagging indicator. So it does trail a little bit because obviously they go into the hospitals usually before the worst happens, and they're there for a while for that. But even that, you see that the numbers have trended down in suburban Cook County and even statewide. But focusing on suburban Cook County, why? Because that's the information that we can get. So as you can see, that's also trended way down since, and it lagged back to, we peaked probably the end of April. Deaths peaked a couple weeks later than that, which kind of makes sense. So, but still trailing. So. ICU bed and ventilators, again, we're worried about the healthcare system. That's continued to trend downward and has flattened out a little bit, but it's very low compared to what it was at its peak. Its peak, it was 1,250 ICU beds, and now we're right around 300. So much less as far as COVID patients in the ICUs. It's not really straining the system at this point. This is the availability. It says on the right here, 14% threshold. Actually, the governor announced new thresholds of 20%. We're still way above that in the southwest suburbs. So 80% ventilators, ICU beds are about 35-40%. So we're well above that. And so there's plenty of capacity in the hospital beds. My last phone conversation with Dr. Awadi in the city of Chicago is she said right now they could handle a massive flu outbreak at the current caseload. So the system could still handle that. So they're feeling pretty comfortable that they're in good shape on that. So this is the metrics page that, if anyone has been going to that page, I don't know, it popped up, about a month ago, 5 weeks ago, they started showing this metric page and whether you're in the green or not. And this is for the Northeast region, which includes Chicago. And this is last week. This was, I think, as of last Thursday or Wednesday. Well, they don't report that anymore. So even though we've been watching this same graph for 5 weeks, this is one of those things that now it's not reported anymore. But this is what it was last week. So to give you an idea of where everything looks as far as surge capacity, our positivity rates in the region, et cetera. So pretty good. So now they have a new metric page, and we are in Region 10. So back to what all of us, at least one time, sent to the governor and asked him to break it into separate regions, and most of us many times said, hey, we should be using the emergency response regions, the 11 emergency response regions. Well, last week, near the end of the week, the governor said he's going to be using 11 regions. He's not using the emergency response regions. I'm not exactly sure why, because at the end of the day, we already report all these hospital things by emergency response regions, so now they have to be reported in a different way. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but regardless, our emergency response region includes southern Cook County, a little bit of western like Lamont, and then goes down into Will, so kind of the south portion of the suburbs. This region is all of suburban Cook County, so like Mokina is not included, but Evanston is. So that's just kind of, maybe it doesn't make sense, but it's the information that we have. So you can see here, everything's in the green here, and even though they said there's some daily increases in test positivity, those increases are like fractional of percentages, like 0.1, 0.2, they're very small. And the 7-day rolling average, now these are, the important thing to notice here between you'll say, well, that number's higher than the number you saw in hospitalizations before. This is COVID-like illness. This isn't people with COVID. So this is symptoms that look like COVID, which a lot of things do. So the other chart was actually people with COVID, so as it turns out. So just so you can see, but even the COVID-like illnesses are on decline, plenty of medical surge capacity for beds as well. So that's Region 10. If you go to the next, that's the southern part of Orland Park is in Will County, and that is part of this, and that is also in the green for everything. So, so you can see that, the area is doing pretty well for the last, in this case, they only had 10 days, so that's the last 10 days, because again, they changed how they were reporting. This is a new chart. So, Region 7 of the South, that's our emergency response region, and that includes a hybrid of both of those last two things that you saw. They still report this, which is ICU beds available, ventilators available. You can see that's 35.6% ICU beds, 85% ventilators, well over the 20% threshold. So there's not really much of a spike on hospitals. The state has also started sharing county level metrics, which are different, and you can see these county level metrics. They all meet the goals. The little warning you see over there, my understanding of the CDC is 100 to 200 is considered moderate to high. Above 200 is considered high. 10 to 100 is considered moderate to low, so we're in moderate to low. These are just 2 days worth of reporting based on the fact that they didn't report for 2 days. Some of the areas in suburban Cook County, there was certainly a spike in some cases because there were 2 days of zero. So based on what I saw on Friday, I think it was less than that, not surprisingly again. So, but still in the moderate to low range, which is what they're actually looking for. But over the last 2 days, they saw a little bit up. But everything, you can see everything there is in the target. So So based on all of that, my advice is we're using 2 weeks. My advice is we move on to the next phase. We let people, continue to use judgment, which they'll do. I don't think anyone is, running around to fully reopen the restaurants, but it'll allow them to gradually do so as they see their customers feeling comfortable. A reminder: long-term care facilities here still represent 54% of the deaths. They are, the case fatality rate's about 16.8%. The cases in nursing homes was about 15.5, now it's like 14.8, so it's gone down a little bit as they start testing other places. We did have one more death in Orland Park a couple weeks ago. According to the Illinois site, that is that was also a long-term care, so it's 34 out of 35. Average age is about 84, and 97% of those that had serious health conditions prior to getting ill, which doesn't make it any less sad, but it's just, as we know, it's really attacking people who are elderly and already have some illnesses. We've seen this chart before. That really hasn't changed much, and that's through 7/4, but those numbers have changed maybe 0.1% for the last month. Flip to the next page. Cook County, you've seen the same thing. You've seen this over and over again. Half of the people over 70 end up in the hospital. If you're over 80, if you end up in the hospital, there's a 60% chance that you're not going to come out. So again, the elderly population, even as we open up, needs to really protect themselves as much as possible. Stay away from folks. Wear a mask that protects you, not protects others. So wear an N95 or something like that if you can get it, because that's going to help protect you, especially if you have some other comorbidity. Some other information that I think is important as we entertain, and none of us here make decisions for the schools. So let's make that perfectly clear. The schools make their own decisions. The school boards, the school administration, and anyone who has kids in school are making those decisions. And I think we have a couple of board members that are going to be making those decisions. But it's important to have the information. So from February 1st to July 11th, what you see on this chart is influenza and pneumonia deaths in the various age groups and COVID deaths. And you'll see that for every age group, influenza and pneumonia deaths actually higher than COVID. So these upper respiratory issues, it's not just COVID. It's not something we don't usually see. We do see this. It's something that is around. We do see it. Now there's just another one besides flu, besides pneumonia. There's another one that's included in this. And if you notice, in particular with kids under the age of 14, there have been, I believe it's 26, I think that's 20 or 31. I'm having a tough time reading it from this distance, but it's 31 COVID deaths, unfortunately. But there's been, almost 300 flu and influenza deaths. So almost 9 times higher chance of dying of influenza or pneumonia than COVID under 14. 15 to 24, so you get into the teenage years and into college, you're looking at almost double the number of influenza and pneumonia deaths versus COVID. So it's just important to put some things in perspective. The other thing, high school teenagers, 6 of them die a day in a car accident every day. So that's 2,000 a year. So as you're making the decisions for your families, as you're making the decisions for the schools, factor in, there are a lot of risks that are taken on a daily basis. You need to look at this as well and just factor all that into your decision making when you make that. So I just thought that was important to show. And then if you flip to the next page, it does show COVID-related deaths and deaths from all causes. So you say even for 85-year-olds plus, it's about 10% of the deaths. And obviously it's minuscule for those that are children as far as, and that's of the total deaths of that age. And every death of every child is tragic, but the reality is in a country of 320 million people, we're going to have some. So it's important for you to have some perspective. And those 2 slides really go back to what we talked about from the beginning of March, which is this is bad, it's dangerous, but it's not the most dangerous thing we've ever seen, and it is something we deal with. So we still have to continue to live. We just all have to decide, what are those choices that we have to make. So that's the latest data and information, and I think that now Ray has some information. Well, first, does anybody have any questions on this information? On this data? Ray, it's off to you. And what Ray's going to talk about is he's going to talk about the taste. So my recommendation, before I let you speak here, my recommendation when we go to the next thing is to recommend that we go on to the next phase, which, if you read our plan, would technically allow us to just do the taste fully like we always have. I think at the end of the day, we need to be a little more cautious than that. We haven't seen an event like that. And this, I think Ray's going to point out, this plan actually meets within the governor's phase 4, which we know isn't active anymore because of the courts, and they're still fighting. He hasn't appealed it yet. We don't know what's going to happen there. But his phase 4 was 20% capacity. This plan meets that based on all the CDC numbers and everything else, and Ray will go more into that.
So thank you. So the goal moving forward is to produce events for our community and to do them in a safe manner. So we've been doing that as summer has progressed. We think we've been successful at that. Staff has worked together to develop a plan that allows us to celebrate the taste, which is always that big block party that we enjoy as a community. We celebrate Orland Park. We do it with our restaurants in a lot of bands and other activities. So as we looked at the taste, we really have looked at every element of the taste and added the COVID restrictions and modifications that help us to be successful. So what you're seeing here is the grounds of the taste. If you look at the whole grounds here, everything within those yellow lines, that's the whole footprint of the taste. That space is over 196,000 square feet. As we look at that, the CDC and the FEMA has set a requirement, or not requirement, a recommendation of 113 square feet per person. So if you look at that number, that gives us 1,735 people that can fit within those grounds. If you look at the lawn area, you see a lot of squares there, and I know those squares also cover the stage areas and some areas that aren't really seatable areas. We counted those out as we looked at those. You'll see on the next slide, and we'll go there in just a second, that there's 225 of those seating pods. We estimate that households will sit within those seating pods, 4 to 6 people in each one of those pods. And doing that gives us 900 to 1,350 people within that area. The asphalt areas there that you see are a little over 125,000 square feet, using that 113 square feet per person. That gives us a little over 1,100 people. So our recommendation for the total taste is 2,000 to 2,400 people to accommodate within that footprint. We're using a Google Doc that allows us to calculate people as they enter the taste and exit the taste. So it's a live document using the 2 entrances that you see. So the Ravinia Avenue entrance and the southwest gate over here. So we just have 2 entrances with a live document that allows us to keep track of how many people are coming in or how many are coming out. Staff will be monitoring the event to make sure the event is safe all the way through so that it doesn't go overcrowding. So if it appears to be crowded in any way, we'll stick with the 2,000 number. If it appears to be wide open, then we can go to the 2,400 number. We try to start conservatively and then put eyes on the event to make sure that it's going to be safe. As you look at the grounds, you can see the traditional area on your left side there. There's some restaurants there with one-way aisles. That center aisle, which is quite wide, it gives us room to do a 2-way aisle to get up and down those aisles. We're also expanding the footprint, so you can see the east side of the grounds there show restaurants and sponsors. We'll have some community booths over there. There's a 2-way entrance in, which is a wide street over there, which allows us to do that 2-way entrance. And then one-way aisles, I think we have a one-way aisle at the top there. So we have enough space for everybody to get up and down those aisles safely. If you look at the second slide then, so you can get a better idea of what that pod spacing looks like. So the pods are 8 by 8 squares, so 64 square feet. Again, with households, when we're with our families, we sit a lot closer than that with our families. So if you imagine 8 feet, and we even marked it out to see what that felt like, you can easily fit 6 people within one of those squares, and all those squares will be staggered. So we'll have 6 feet all around, and there'll be walkways going in between those. Some of the things that we're doing for the event to keep it safe, you can see listed there, and I'll run through this very quick. So the capacity limit of 2,000 to 2,400, the expanded footprint that I mentioned. We'll have an increased number of hand washing stations and sanitation stations, those are hand sanitizer. The household seating pods that I mentioned, the one-way aisles. All the restaurant tents will be set up 30 feet from each other to allow spacing. Going into the restaurants, we'll have queue lines that go into those, as well as passing lanes, so you can go into the restaurant area to place your order, exit that area, and there'll be a passing area so you don't have to integrate with other people that might be in that row. Each of the gates will create line queues, similar to what we did at the Liberty Run. If you were at the Liberty Run, we had a starting area and we had a waiting area. In that line waiting area, each space between the participants was 8 to 9 feet, giving us room in between for social distancing. We're working on setting a capacity limit for the Civic Center so we can maintain that. The Civic Center is an important asset for the taste, for air conditioning, as well as the restrooms. So we're working out a way to maintain a capacity limit there as well. All staff working the event, especially the gates, will wear face masks as well as face shields to protect them, as well as participants. Gloves will be provided as needed to all staff. Porta potties, so again, similar to what we did at the 4th of July, normally we group all those things together, the Taste and the 4th of July. We learned at the 4th of July that we spaced them out and it created a lot more space, so we intend to do that with this event as well. The amphitheater will host a couple of different things, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to usher people into that. The center aisle will be a one-way aisle in, the side aisles will be an exit aisle out. Seating will be every other row so we can maintain social distancing in that area, and then we will seat people as they enter the area to make sure they're within their own family and household. We are going to increase cleaning, so our athletics division will be cleaning. We're also adding custodial labor that will help keep the porta potties and the restroom clean. The dance floor that's normally in front of the stage area is being eliminated, and then we'll rope off or fence off that area in front of there and post signs asking people to remain within their pods. Signage throughout the grounds will encourage social distancing, hand sanitation, and wearing masks as they have at some of our other events and been successful at suggesting that. And then we'll also have signs at the gates that remind people that if they have any symptoms of COVID-19 that they shouldn't enter the ground. So those are our current plans. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Ray?
Mr. Mayor? Or
Trustee Healy?
Ray, what was the power? You say there's a 22,000 to 2,400 limit. What was our top attendance last year?
Well, we estimate our attendance per day to be about 10,000. Usually over the Taste weekend, we have about 40,000 people. Now, they're not there all at once. It's an in and out thing during the whole day, but we can get quite a few people on the grounds. So we're really only at about a 20% capacity.
Thank you.
Questions?
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
Question for Ray and probably George. Right. So broadly, I think you guys have done a fine job trying to design a plan. Got it. You know, Mayor Pico, I appreciate the data summaries that you and staff have brought forward because the information is what it is. Where my head is at is just broadly, if we're used to having 10,000 people and the event is a block party where you're close with friends that you haven't seen in a while or neighbors or family, and the food and the music, spacing it out and limiting the attention plus all the costs, I want to question just why are we doing this? In fact, I'm of a mind to say, given everything that we're seeing, the data is saying we're going in the right trend, but there's also new emerging science that says masks are helpful even outdoors. We've seen that, although it's not settled. And there's also just the issue of the viability of the event. So, you know, I've got very mixed feelings about going ahead with Orland Days. Not Orland Days, Taste of Orland. I think we're trying very hard to make these work. I think we're looking at spending a lot of money, and I don't think they're going to be the events that we built up over the years, especially with Taste of Orland. So my question then for Ray and George is, all of this checks all the boxes with current CDC guidelines. Did I hear you correctly?
It does.
Okay. And then historically, how much has Taste of Orland cost us as a net in terms of outlays?
The total expenses of the Taste are usually close to $200,000.
Are we or are we not sure we're going to have the ability to have alcohol sales?
We are still talking with the state about the alcohol portion. We learned today that restaurants that have a catering license potentially could serve alcohol at the Taste. We're investigating that still.
Got it. And in my experience in talking to that's just a commentary, my experience talking to vendors over the years is that this is an operational challenge, but they do it for the greater good of the community and marketing purposes. It's hard to staff. They don't make any money on the food, and they've generally broken even with the alcohol sales. So from where I'm sitting, if it's a much smaller event, this spaced out, it loses its feel. And if there's no alcohol sales, I think there's a big economic question here.
I would say no question there's going to be a different feel for the taste. And I think those of us at the 4th of July, or myself experiencing the 4th of July, I've been there many years. And it has, there's always a lot of people at the 4th of July, and it's a great community feel. I know I always feel very proud about that event. This year, the number of people on the field certainly were less, but there were a lot of other people that still attended and enjoyed the event. And so I think the taste will feel a little bit different, but I think it'll still be a successful community event that we hope that the community embraces and is proud of.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Calandrello.
Will masks be required for everyone or no?
Masks will be encouraged. We can't require masks.
Okay. And then are we still having the staffing issue? I know we have to incentivize. Usually this is an easy, hey, overtime, whatever, but are we still having staffing issues?
Staffing issues are always a challenge, to be honest. When George first started, before the pandemic even began, we were asking George for help with that. So staffing is always an issue for us, but yes, we're still working on filling the gates right now.
And we're using incentives to push
We are.
staffing.
Ruck
Okay.
bucks.
And Ray, you and your staff have a very difficult situation doing that. And what the plan, everyone knows my opinion of these events, but I do want to thank you and your staff and the village team for putting forth the effort. My opinion hasn't changed about it. And I know we want these feel-good things, but how much money are we going to be losing as we're all here trying to be good financial stewards. I just feel that our businesses, if they can't get their liquor license, also, if even they do, they're only going to have 2,000 people to 2,400. I think we're going to lose our shirt and our shoes and our everything on this. And just for something to feel good, I don't think is the right thing to do. But thank you for your work.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
How are you going to, you said you're using some Google document or whatever to monitor the number of people that come in. So what are you going to do when you're at capacity and there's people that want to come in?
That's where that queue line comes into effect, so we'll hold them back and they'll have to space out. We'll have queue lines just outside of the exit, both north and south of the main gate, both main gates here.
So you're going to tell them they have to wait till somebody leaves?
They have to wait, right. Two go in, or two go out, two go in, so we'll have to maintain it that way. We're actually doing that, or have been doing that in the past at the pool. So the pool, not this year, but in past years when it would hit capacity, when 5 go out, 5 go in, so it'll be a similar concept.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
just a clarification question. Our capacity is 2,000 to 2,400
That's our recommended capacity.
at one time.
Yes.
So if 10,000 people come throughout the day on a normal taste, is it still possible that 10,000 people could make it through in one day? Or is it
One of
going
our
to be?
goals for the taste is always to get people there early so that we always have those higher numbers. So would be promoting that there is capacity limits. So we actually have had people calling already to ask about the event, and their comments are, I will need to show up early. So we're hoping that because there is a capacity limit that people will space out during the day. I think some people will take responsibility and come earlier in the day so they avoid any potential crowds at night. So potentially there could still be a large volume over the weekend.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I think it's a great idea to put some positive spin. We've seen so much about deficits and the psychological badness of it. We've got all sorts of bad news out here. I think we have to turn around the bad news and make it some good news. And it's not going to turn on a dime. It's going to be a slow thing to return to normal, which the whole plan is about. I think that this is a necessary thing for not only Orland Park, but the greater area community to see some steps moving forward. There were a lot of naysayers about the 4th of July thing. I think that turned out to be fine, a success, in fact. So think that we should move forward with it, and it's show our leadership among the other suburbs. And also, just another thing is that we're not going to have much competition for people who want to go out. They have something to do, to bring in a social end to this, an end to this pandemic thing. People want to get out, and I think it will be attended, and it will be attended well. Thank you.
Any other comments? Trustee Katsinas.
Microphone.
crowd shows up, that they can be held back. That's a concern, because with all other summer festivals going to the wayside, you know, this is successful, it's a great event. How do we make sure those people that are waiting, you know, they're safe and they don't get to be too many people waiting? You know, crowd control.
So the Orland Park Police usually, or not usually, will be working the event with us. We are meeting with them, I think it is later this week or early next week, to talk about issues just like that. So they'll be there to assist us through the event. They usually or always have one officer at each of the gates and the other officers walking the grounds. So we'll be working with the police department to maintain the safety in that line.
Thank you, Ray.
Any other comments or questions? So my comment on this is that, you know, there was the money-losing aspect. This event lost over 100 grand a year for a long time, and there was no concern about that, and we'll be better than that. We won't be as good as last year where we made money on it, but we'll be better than it was. And of course, you know, as was pointed out, it's not going to be the same event it's been in the past. I mean, every event is different. Going to the store is different. Sitting in this meeting room is different. Everything is different. But to quote one of our trustees who've said this a number of times, I believe every step back to normal is a good step back to normal. And so I think it's a good step back to normal. And I think we're taking the appropriate precautions to do it correctly. And we've already demonstrated with the concert in the park. It was great. And naturally, it seems like there's less people at all. I mean, it's just human nature. There's less people at these events, for sure. Concert in the parks had less. The market in the parks had less, but we still had it. They're still doing great. The pool, you know, we've expanded the number we're allowing, and we're not even meeting that allowance because people are, you know, self-selecting to come, you know, for less hours and less time. So I think you're going to see that here as well. And I think July 4th, a good example. Yeah, on the grounds at the park, there were less in that ball field. But when you looked at the parking lots and you looked at the parking lot in the western part of the park, they were all more full than they normally are because people were choosing to watch them from different locations than they normally do inside the park. So it was probably, in my estimation from last year, it was more attended, but it was, and I don't know how you feel about that, Ray, but I think it was more attended, but it was just attended differently than what we've had. And I think this will be somewhat similar. I think the businesses, there's no question it's going to be more challenge for them this year, but their whole year has been a challenge, and anything to get out there and do some of these events they're looking to do, and the ones I've talked to are looking forward to doing it, and they know it's going to be more of a fiscal challenge this year, but they just want to be out there with their customers and operating their businesses. So I think it's a great idea. You've done great work putting this together. You were also going to talk about, were you going to talk tonight about the concerts at all, or we're just talking about Taste of Orland now since the concerts are later? We're going to talk about the concerts at the next meeting?
No, it's the next item.
Should I go over the concerts now then?
All right, we'll move on to the next item.
Centennial Park West Concert Series, drive-in tickets.
And Ray will talk about the concert series through that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the addition of a drive-in viewing option for the August 22nd, 2020 and September 12th, 2020 concert series, concerts, and the addition of 3 drive-in movies in late summer, early fall.
So moved.
Second.
Ray?
So for the concert series, right now we have the 2 concerts on August 22nd and September 12th. Initially, we were just selling concerts for the viewing area only in front of the stage. We will be doing similar mitigation plans for the concerts as we are doing for the Taste with the pods and all those other elements. We're still planning all of that. To help with the social distancing, and this is a trend in concerts and talking to TKO and the agent that works for the bands, a lot of artists now are doing drive-in concerts. So our idea was to do a drive-in concert in addition to this, so those that didn't want to be be on the grounds, didn't maybe feel as comfortable, could watch from their cars. So the idea is that the people who bought that ticket would be the same price for $60. They could view from their car. It would be in the still at Centennial Park West. We would use an area of that parking lot. When you buy a ticket, you would also get the space next to your car. That way we maintain that social distancing. We're working with Soundworks Productions to bring out Jumbotrons. So we'd have a couple Jumbotrons out there, and then they would broadcast the concert on an FM signal. So cameras on the stage areas would capture the image to broadcast onto the Jumbotron, and then the concert itself would be broadcast on that FM channel, similar to how we did the 4th of July. So that's the current concept that we're planning for the two concerts coming up.
This was a great idea. It obviously allows us to get a lot more people to enjoy the concert. You figure at least 2 people per car. It's 1,300 plus. Some of them are going to come with more than 2 people, and there's plenty of space in a 9 by. How big are the parking spots, Ed? 9 by 15s, 9 by 18. So they're pretty sizable spaces for them to hang out next to, and with the Jumbotron, be able to watch it, still hear it, and partake. And so back to, what one of the trustees has said, gives people a lot of choices. Let's give people the choices, let's give them the information and let them choose, and that's what we're doing. We're giving people more choices. So thanks for coming up with that idea and working through
Mr.
it.
Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
So the Jumbotrons are going to cost us $16,000. Originally, when the concerts were proposed, we said we needed to have 3,000 to 5,000 people there to even break even. We've sold 622 tickets so far. We don't know how many tickets we're going to be giving away, which, whatever you want to give to first responders is great. So where does this put us financially?
It's another addition to the overall expense budget. These concerts are budgeted to lose around $300,000, a little over $300,000.
So how much are we going to lose?
In the end, it depends on the overall ticket sales. So
it's 8,000 more per concert.
Right.
And ticket sales to offset that are what?
We would need 226 more, I believe it was, to offset.
226 in the Centennial Park West to offset those.
The cars, right.
The cars.
So 1/3 more each concert.
Any other questions or comments?
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
I think everybody understands, and thank you for quoting me accurately. Every step towards normality is a good step and a right step. I'm starting to see all of this through the lens of, are we trying too hard on these events with money we don't really have this year? Your point was well made earlier that we've done a number of these events over the year, and they were community events, so we didn't get too close into the numbers. We have extraordinary circumstances. So I've got increasingly mixed feelings about how much we're trying to get these things done. And as I think you might recall the conversation, the data is pretty clear in my mind about the risks in an aggregate level to an individual, but it's always a really sad day when you're the one that shows up at the wrong end of a statistic. That's point number one. Point number two, I think we're swimming pretty hard against the tide of people's perceptions about the severity of this pandemic, the implications on their family, the risk of death, all that. And behavior and attitudes and beliefs leads to behavior. So my concern, quite bluntly, is we're trying hard, tip of the hat to us, but are we trying too hard to make an event that might not be successful where we're kind of chasing our tail on this one? So I just need to put it out there as a comment for the board. I think we need to be mindful about throwing these kind of changes into the mix and additional expenditures. I'm becoming concerned.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
We didn't talk about the drive-in option.
Huh?
The
We're approving the drive-in viewing option for August 22nd, 2020 and September 12th, 2020 concert series.
Aye.
That's what the vote's for.
Trustee Fenton.
No.
Trustee Dodge.
No.
Trustee Calandrello.
Nope.
Trustee Katsinas.
Yes.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Motion carries 4-3.
Amend Title VII, Chapter 18, decreased number of video gaming license ordinance.
Ordinance number, please.
5533.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to pass ordinance 5533 entitled an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 18 of the Orland Park Municipal Code regarding the available number of video gaming licensing issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook, and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
This is to reduce the gaming license because Gatto's closed, so everybody's aware. Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Amend Title VII, Chapter 4, number of Class A liquor license.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to pass ordinance number 5534 entitled an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 4 of the Orland Park Village Municipal Code regarding the available number of Class A liquor license issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook County, and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
Any questions, comments? This is also related to Gatto's. Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Motion moving the Village of Orland Park back to Orland Park to Phase 3 of the Village of Orland Park back to normal plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve to move the Village of Orland Park to Phase 3 of the adopted back to normal plan.
Second.
Any questions or comments? And I'm not going to go through the slides again. You already saw them, so those are the numbers.
Mayor Pico, I have some questions.
Sure.
George, I don't have the current CDC guidelines in front of me, but what do they recommend or say regarding businesses that are truly indoors as opposed to, let's say, outdoor seating at a restaurant?
I believe it's 50% capacity.
CDC doesn't have specific recommendations across the country. They have recommendations for the different phases. So their recommendation for the current phase we're in is 75%, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what they have, and then for the next phase is fully open. Of course, I think businesses are not going to fully open at this point, but they would, they're able to use their own judgment.
So is there no commentary about social distancing, if not a mask, if you can't social distance? I thought there was.
There is not. CDC still, even with fully open, they say that it's not a bad idea to social distance, but their plan and their recommendation doesn't actually state that. But they say, generally speaking, it's not a bad idea to social distance. They also say it doesn't hurt to wear a mask if you cannot social distance. So that's their guidance.
All right, I guess
They don't have very much in the way of specific plan guidance.
Yeah, Mayor Pico, is just broadly, we've talked about this. I mean, I think the numbers that we've been watching and presumably the state is watching are all going in the direction that we would like. So the severity of the early caseload, the severity of the lockdown and all the implications that it had they're behind us, but they're well known. And so I'm looking at page 16 of the document and want to make sure that's correct about what we're saying in phase 3, normal operations. So that's the section we're referring to?
Correct.
Here's my concern. I certainly think every business should be open if they can be open. But I have a concern that as the science keeps evolving, and it is, and right now the data is on our side, that all the mitigation efforts and all the things that have been done have worked in terms of getting us to the place we are from a case and from a hospitalization, all those rates that we talked about earlier. No need to cover that. My concern is this. I still think that there's emerging evidence, and I think it's becoming stronger, that face masks, especially indoors, when you're very likely not to have enough people who are mindful of being disciplined for their own health, let alone everybody else they're coming in contact with, I think we should think about a requirement for letting, or tell businesses, you need to require, or you have the right to require face masks to come into our store. I think the major retailers are doing that. So I have a concern that we throw this totally open, because there's a number of people who won't be mindful of the potential impact they have on others. And I don't know if there's a better way to solve for it.
So the business do have the right to require it. I mean, no matter how we're open, they have that right. So there's nothing stopping them from doing so. And I know that some of our national chains do it nationally. So, any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Calandrello.
I've spoken a lot about this, so I'll keep it short. In other meetings, I have a couple disagreements. The first disagreement is I do not believe, I know our legal counsel believes that the downstate southern judicial judge, a circuit court judge, has control over the whole state-wide order. Unless I didn't sleep through jurisdiction, but I believe I question that, and I respectfully disagree with that. And our learned counsel that they have jurisdiction to do that. If that's true, I'm not sure why we're still suing the governor if it's a blown, but that's a comment. Also, I mean, I'm not gonna waste people's time and read the CBC why you should wear a mask. Trustee Healy, I don't want to waste your time, but you can look it up at CBC and why and how you should wear a mask, the recommendation. We have a growing population, we have a senior population. I just think, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The reason why our numbers are so low is because of how we've been really good, and I think this is not needed at this time. I'm with the CBC guidelines. I think we're seeing what's happening when you open up too early in Texas and Florida. I think Dr. Fauci, who's probably the expert in here, would be really upset with us for doing this because the science doesn't support it. I disagree with some of my colleagues, and I respect that disagreement, but I just don't think it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Milani.
As I looked at the plan and started looking at the numbers, Illinois has achieved record-setting testing numbers, and our positivity rate has dropped to 2.9%. And if you look at Orland Parks, our positivity rate's even lower. And we've been making great progress along the way. So looking at the number of cases as we keep seeming to go back to in the news really isn't the answer, because as we're continuing to test, more of these cases are going to be found. That's a no-brainer, right? South suburban Cook County has seen hospitalization numbers of 0, 1, and 2 over the past week. Cook County's total bed utilization rates have been consistently at 55% and 45% across the state for quite some time. Many of our hospitals have actually converted their COVID-19 units back to normal beds because they had a shortage of normal beds for the people that they were admitting. Those are good signs. That's improvement. And I think it's really time to move forward with the reopening. And, that being said, I've repeatedly stated that I believe in choices. This plan is a series of recommendations and guidance for businesses, and compliance to this is voluntary. Businesses can choose based on their needs. It also applies to the patrons that go to those businesses. If you feel that you need to, wear a mask, keep your distance from people, or choose not to go to a location that you do not feel is in your comfort zone. This is this simple. From what I've seen across Orland Park and being out, people are very respectful of each other's space. And I really don't think that's magically going to change. People have become used to distancing from others, and I think it'll continue on. And somehow, new masks would come up again, seeming that the two people that push on the mask more than anything fail to understand how they work. Correct protocol for wearing a mask is to put the mask on, leave it on until your task, travel, etc. are complete and you have an adequate location to decontaminate and wash your hands. Then remove it by the band and you place it in a bag for reuse. Yeah, you probably look around and you look in cars and you see people driving with masks on. Well, that could be your next first responder that shows up to your house. They have a protocol they need to follow. You're not supposed to take it off repeatedly and put it back on, as Trustee Fenton did multiple times in our last meeting, and once tonight. Trustee Calandrello, as he took it off and sneezed in his elbow and coughed with his mask off and then put his mask back on at the last meeting, and now has it hanging off his ear because he took it off, is going to preach to me on how to use a mask. So you're supposed to keep the mask on for keeping your aerosol particles in and from being distributed to others. So again, and I've said this multiple times, I wear one when needed, and there's an ineffectiveness to masks when they're worn and not deployed properly and touched all the time. So instead of using masks, why don't we just use duct tape instead?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments?
Mayor Peacock?
Trustee Dodge.
Don't know if I jumped in front of somebody there. If this is an up or down vote on what's on page 16 of 65 in the document, given where I'm at today, my vote's going to be no. I think we need to take extra measures to remind businesses and individuals about masking. Quite frankly, I'm becoming more comfortable with requiring, if businesses want to go full on back to normal, quote, and they want to do their business indoor, which almost by definition they have to do, they have to, or we're strongly encouraging them, given where we are with the legal mess between us and the state and the feds. I don't know if what we've got here on this page goes far enough to make sure people understand this thing, the spread of COVID-19 and the virus that causes it, a SARS variation, severe acute respiratory, illness, is community solve, right? We can help this thing overall if we all were better participants at it. To all the comments that have been made, not everybody wants the mayor mask. Many people I've seen are very respectful. That's great. How do we as an entity go out of our way to make sure that businesses understand, or quite frankly encourage them to do the utmost they can to not let people into their stores, to maximize or to minimize the number of people in the stores and consistent with their business and mask. So if we're an up or down as is, I'm not comfortable with it.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
I just would like to, Trustee Maloney, I respect you, but I hope he did not make a threat to put duct tape around Trustee Fenton's mouth. That's what I heard. I mean,
Out of your mind.
I'm just, with all due respect, I hope you didn't say that, but it sounded like you said instead of using the mask, we should use duct tape. So I've been trying to stay above the fold, and I'm going to continue to do that. So I hope I misheard you, but that wasn't appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I please reply?
No.
Okay.
Any other comments on this issue?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I just would like to remind people that there are so many businesses have been crushed by the fear of COVID. Not by the disease itself, but by the fear of it. We've shut a lot of small businesses down, and they're trying to come back. Some of them still aren't allowed to open under some plans. I'm glad to see we're reopening more, or giving them the opportunity to restore their financial lives and let them try and maintain some of their financial net worth. I think we have to, the sooner we do it, the better. Thank you.
Any other comments? I guess my comments before we call for the vote is we all at one point or another, and most of us several times, have voted to go to 14-day phasing because that is what the CDC recommends when reopening. They clearly recommend 14 days. All the experts in the world recommend 14 days. So we're at 14 days from when we went to the last phase, and the numbers all indicate we should go to the next one. Arizona and Texas were brought up, it's really apples and oranges. We've all voted at least once, again, that we should use 11 emergency response regions and not be tied to Chicago. Well, if we don't think we should be tied to Chicago, why would we be making decisions based on being tied to Arizona or Texas? They're different. We know this is regional. We know this works differently in different regions. People are going to spike at different times. The University of Washington model said Arizona and Texas were going to spike in June. That's what they originally said. So this is not entirely surprising. The thing is, they probably shut down too soon. We're not in that same boat. Orland Park's clearly not in that same boat. We have reopened safely. We haven't seen a spike in cases. So again, 14 days, we've seen the right numbers. So we should stay consistent with the plan. And the plan is, these are experts that basically provided this guidance that we're using. A lot of experts, and that's how we generated the plan. So we should stick to the 14 days. The 14 days are working, and we should open. But I encourage businesses, and I think businesses will make decisions based on their customers, just like we'll make decisions with the taste. We're not going to open it up to 10,000 people. We're still keeping it minimized because we recognize that this is still new. So we're leaving it to the people and the businesses. And as one trustee has said a number of times, people have a choice, and they have a choice of where they go to consume. They have a choice. Businesses have a choice of what they do. I don't know how many times I've said it up here. Businesses have the right to require you to wear a mask. If you don't want to go in there and they're requiring you to wear a mask, don't go in. Businesses have the right to not require a mask, although I think most of them are. They have a right to not require it. If they decide we're not going to require it, if you don't want to shop there, don't shop there. Everyone has a choice in this matter, and that's what we're doing. We're giving people the choice. We're going to let the resident, and our job is to inform them. We've been informing them. We've been keeping the information to them. If you can't social distance, particularly if you're indoors, you should be looking at wearing a mask. It protects others from your coughing and your sneezing if you happen to be sick. So doing that's not going to hurt. And if a company says, hey, you got to wear a mask to go in there, then wear the mask. I mean, if you want to shop there bad enough, that's what you'll do. So everyone has a choice. So I think, I said it before, I think we should move on to the next phase. All the numbers indicate that. The plan was put together with a lot of expert research, expert guidance, a lot of back and forth that was adapted over time, and I think we should stay consistent with that. The numbers continue to warrant that we move forward, so we should continue to move forward. That's my take. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Fenn.
No.
Trustee Dodge.
No.
Trustee Calandrella.
No.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye. Motion carries 4-3.
Just hit it up at the top. It'll go. There you go.
It wouldn't work. No. So non-scheduled citizens and visitors, we have one. Mia Cacciato, 3 minutes.
I've been a resident of Orland Park for 24 years. I also have been working for the village in the rec department since 2018. Many of us have met at many special events. We even met, Mayor, when you paraded around each department last fall to talk about your get to know me and your plans for the village nearly 3 years after being elected. To spew some nonsense about being fiscally responsible. Anyone with half a brain would know that you have done nothing to back up those statements. These events often don't make a profit, let alone break even, especially the ticketed concerts you decided we needed to host. And you still want to go through with them in the middle of a global pandemic. How is that fiscally responsible? Your words are worthless, and you said it best at the last board meeting, that you haven't done anything. In my time as an intern and now as a program coordinator, I've seen countless examples of how your actions and decisions directly contradict everything you say you're doing for the village. So I thought I would take this time to share my experiences. Let's start with summer camp. We were strung along for months wondering if programs were going to happen or not. I was personally hoping that for health's sake, they would be canceled until proper measures could be put into place, and initially that's what we were told. We thought camp would be put off until July, and that we would require campers to wear masks and have their temperatures taken daily. I was optimistic about the direction we were headed. So in May, when all the coordinators for summer camp were told to start planning for summer camp second session in July, the next day, we were all furloughed because camp was being put off until at least July. And then a week later, you turned around and we were brought back to plan summer camp for the first session that begins in June with an inadequate time to properly prepare, and the protective measures that we thought we were going to have were stripped away. No temperatures for the kids, and they're not required to wear masks. These measures put me and my staff at risk every day, and we weren't given clear answers as to why. And yet every other program I see come through our building is requiring their participants to wear masks. So tell me what the difference is. Our staff is required, which keeps our participants protected from us, but not the other way around, especially with them not understanding the situation or social distancing. And now they are all going to be put at risk again because it is required for camp staff to work the Taste of Orland, or they won't get hired again next summer. And they are genuinely concerned for their health and safety because face masks are not going to be required for attendees. And you all keep talking about choices. Staff members don't have a choice, especially in the rec department. So we are protecting attendees from us, but we're not protected from them. So please cancel it this year along with the concert series because the threat they pose to our community outweighs anything else the events provide. And I read through your back to normal plan, and a common thread throughout is that we need to get back to normal for our businesses and residents, citing unemployment decreases and decreases in tax revenue. However, you all voted to eliminate my after-school PALS program last board meeting, making me and my staff unemployed at the end of summer camp. Just another example of how you say one thing and do another.
Thank you for your comments. Board, anybody else here to speak? George, I just want you to answer one thing, because she made a pretty serious accusation that they've been told they're not going to get hired again if they don't work these events. So please reiterate for the record exactly what we're doing. So if you want to grab a microphone.
Yeah, so, and it was already mentioned earlier that if you don't want to work, you don't have to work. And so one of the things that we're doing for the Taste, for example, is well, let me just even step back further. Rec department has been the lead on all of these special events, and rightfully so. You know, that's what they do. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be expanding the volunteer opportunities throughout our organization. It should not just be rec in this. So in my past organization, when we had these special events, you know, we sought out other departments, other staff members to have that opportunity. COVID or no COVID, special event staffing is very difficult because you have to gear up from 0 to 100 for something that is very rare. So when it comes to these events, we're really going to be encouraging throughout our entire organization to be part of the community, not just rec, but it is voluntary.
Okay. Board comments, Trustee Fenton.
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm amazed that Trustee Milani is paying attention to what I'm doing down here, so I guess that's a good thing. But with all due respect to every trustee that sits up here and staff members, I'm not going to continue commenting on anything that he said about me because that's just below the belt and it's very unprofessional. I'd also like to encourage everyone to continue to support the local businesses, although I did vote against opening up to full capacity. I still support them and I dine on the outside. I won't go inside, but that's, everybody has a choice. They can do what they want. I'd also like to remind everybody that the museum does have a new exhibition that's been open, and just contact Sarah. She'll give you the hours that the museum is open where you can come in and see it. I'd like to wish Deputy Chief, who is going to be the interim police chief, good luck. You've got a great staff to work with, and I know you'll do an excellent job, and I hope to see you as the permanent chief. So good luck on that. And I just wish all the people in the Village of Orland Park and everyone sitting in here good health, good safety. Think of others when you're around everybody else.
Trustee Dodge.
Wear a mask when you're indoors and in public. Thank you.
Trustee Calandrello.
Just want to thank you to Ray and his staff for doing a lot of work, legwork on the concerts and the taste. While I may not be in agreement that we should have them, I do see the work, and you have a valid and challenging thing to do. So I want to give you kudos for that. I also want to thank, we do have a couple new parks out there. Some new, they're not all open yet, but I can't think of the list right now. Maybe someone can tell me what all the new ones are, but there's about 4 or 5 new jungle gyms out there. So go explore them. Maybe we can do something on the website or Facebook saying, hey, try these new 4 parks or 5 parks out. And then I know that we talked offline regarding trying to make sure some of the parks get cleaned up a little bit based on some staffing issues. So we hear your concerns about new parks. I wish we had more, but we're doing the best we can. And we're hearing your concerns about some of the parks need a little spit shining. So we appreciate our residents, and everyone be healthy and safe.
Trustee Healy.
During a recent Economic Development Advisory Board meeting, we noted that one of our biggest assets is how safe this community is versus the rest of Chicagoland, and that we should emphasize this to people who want to move here, live here, get their business located here, that we live in a very safe thing. So I think, again, can't give enough credit to the police department for keeping us safe. Thanks.
Trustee Katsinas.
I just wanted to remind people about the Shop Orland Park Incentive Rebate Program that's going on. It began July 6th and will go through August 2nd. For every purchase you make in the Village of Orland Park through our retails, restaurants, shops, you qualify for a Visa gift card. I know there's a lot of folks out there. I was at the mall over the weekend talking to some employees at Von Mauer and other stores. They were not aware of this, and a couple of the shoppers weren't. So I would direct everyone to our Village of Orland Park website and also our Facebook page. And I just wanted to thank Chief McCarthy again for his years of service. And when one door shuts, another one opens. And we have a wonderful man named Deputy Chief Joe, who will be our interim chief. And we've worked with him as an assistant village manager and look forward to working with him, hopefully as our next police chief. Thank you.
Trustee Milani.
Just want to remind everybody about the market in the park on Thursday nights, and thanks to all that attended the first concert in the park on Sunday the 12th. And also reminder that the tickets are on sale for the Brewfest on September 19th, so hope to see some of you out there as well. So, and thank you all for doing the hard work on the concert plans and the taste plans, and hope we get a good turnout. So thank you.
I'm looking forward to the taste next week. I want to thank staff and commend staff for their hard work on these events. And I know it's not easy to work these out so that we can conduct them safely. So George, Ray, thanks for all the hard work, and for all of the staff. Make sure you pass that on. Thank them for all the hard work there. Our Sportsplex, our Orland Health and Fitness, our entertainment venues, our restaurants, retail, they've opened, and they've opened, fairly significant amount. Our Sportsplex, Orland Health and Fitness opened, earlier than others. We hosted our July 4th. We had a concert in the park. We have had market in the park, and all the numbers indicate we still are, should be moving forward. So I think that's good news, and I think it's a commentary on the people of Orland Park and how they've taken it seriously. They've taken the opportunity to socially distance, which, by the way, let me be clear on that, is that the most important things that you can do are still washing your hands, staying at home when you're sick, and socially distancing. Wearing masks, helpful, particularly as Trustee Dodge says, indoors, but it doesn't replace those other three, so don't think you're safe from others if you're wearing a cloth mask, because you're not. So, because one thing I have seen is people wearing them tend to forget all about social distancing and then get in everybody's face. That's not helpful. So please make sure we continue to do the things that we did, even as we are completely open, that you continue to do that so we don't backslide and we don't have to take other measures. We will continue to monitor it, monitor all of those numbers. And if we see, any kind of trends and spikes, we'll make different decisions. But I'm hopeful we can continue to gradually reopen. And I think we're going to have a great taste. Hopefully we'll have some great concerts as well. And again, I encourage everyone to do what makes them comfortable. Don't do something that you're uncomfortable with. Do something that makes you comfortable. And I really do encourage our seniors because this is specifically dangerous for seniors and those of you who have other health conditions to monitor and protect yourself. I have a wife with pre-existing conditions and we do that. So really important for you to do that. So please be mindful of that and don't forget to do that because it's really important for those populations to do that, and be mindful of others when you're out there and be respectful of others and be respectful of their space, if nothing else. That's very important. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Or excuse me, go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to go into executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific village employees, C, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Call a roll.
Trustee Fenn?
Aye.
Trustee Calendrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Dodge.
Here.
Trustee Calendrella.
Here.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Can I go?
Go ahead and make the motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton?
Move to approve the employment agreement by and between the Village of Orland Park and Joseph Mitchell for his services to act as interim police chief of the Village of Orland Park and to authorize the village president and the village manager to execute the same.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Calendrella.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calendrella.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Good night, everyone.